work, wasn't it? It's like, okay, where's the location? Where should I move the camera? We're back, ladies and gentlemen, live on the Philippe Matthews Show after hours. This is the naughty show. No, it's not naughty, but we do, controversial things on here. And who else better to have back about controversial issues than Antonia Hall is an award-winning best-selling author of the amazing book, The Ultimate Guide to a Multi-Orgasmic Life. Her teachings and writings offer practical guidance on utilizing our inherent sexuality to enrich our everyday lives. Welcome back, Antonia. How are you?
It's wonderful to be here. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So a lot has happened since the last time we chatted and had you on the show. Bring us up to date on what's been going on with this amazing book and your amazing work.
It's won 3 awards and it's getting a lot of press. I'm writing for a lot of online and magazine sites. And yeah, it's doing really well. People have been incredibly generous in their support, like yourself. And it's incredibly humbling. It's a really beautiful thing.
So for the people who haven't seen the first show that we did, can you give us a brief description or understanding of what the book is about? What is the ultimate guide to a multi-orgasmic life? What is multi-orgasmic, and how does that translate to everyday life?
Multi-orgasmic living is learning to enrich every area of your life, both in the bedroom and outside the bedroom, because that energy, when you start cultivating it and learning how to infuse your life with it, carries over into every area of your life. It's an amazing, amazing tool to have.
You say that sexual energy is a potent power source that we can all tap into. How can you elaborate on that? How can we do more of that?
So everything is energy. And once you start thinking of yourself as energy, you can learn to differentiate your sexual energy from your other body energy. And when you move that energy through the body, it's kind of recharges you. It helps heal you. It helps revitalize you. It's incredibly pleasurable. And it infuses this energy that is joyful and creative. So the more that you're learning to move that energy, and especially both alone and with a partner, the more it infuses, you just feel like you're in the zone, you just feel like infused with it, and it carries over into your everyday life and your relationships with everyone in your life.
I found it interesting that I discovered that the part of the brain that lights up when we have an orgasm is the same part of the brain that lights up when we have a transcendent moment, a state of grace. I thought that was fascinating. Is there, have you discovered that as well?
Absolutely. I think that it's one of the most potent vehicles for transformation and transcendence. And you can do it alone, and it's very, very powerful to do with a partner. The practices allow for this incredible depth. And when you start moving that energy together, it will give you altered states of consciousness. It really can be incredibly transcendent. It's the most connected with God feeling that, like, they talk about lifetimes of doing meditation work and that sort of thing. This is another way to kind of get into those lines.
Well, being facetious, I must say it's definitely about the Big Bang. It is fascinating. But so how did you come to discover this sexual energy and levels of transcendence versus psychic energy or spiritual energy or other different types of forms of energy?
I was on a quest to find ways to allow more balance in my life. I was living in LA, where I am now, again. And it was really stressful for me. I kind of was feeling out of balance and drained out. And so I was looking for tools to help me kind of replenish that and find my way back. And I used meditation, and it just like it took me down this path. The more I started studying, the more I found these tools of moving a sexual energy. These have been around for thousands and thousands of years.
Mhm.
These are ancient Eastern practices that are tried and true, that were handed down person to person. So we don't know exactly, somewhere around 5,000 years ago or so. But when you start getting in touch with that energy, it is incredibly potent and powerful. And I kept asking myself, like, how do people not know about this? Why are we not taught this? You know,
Well, it's not the first time necessarily that I have heard of this kind of work, but I obviously it's kind of a taboo kind of thing because people, especially here in the West, we look at sex as a horrible, horrific thing versus a spiritual and etherical thing. Um, Work with us on how do we decode that and learn how to use our sexual energy as a part of our spiritual energy and practice.
so the first section of my book is specifically geared to looking at the mental blocks that one might have around sexuality. And we're often in our Western culture raised with that sex is shameful, you need to be a good girl, good girls don't, the good guy and bad boy, all of it. And sex has really been one of those things that has been repressed and yet is in our faces all the time. And so it creates this kind of discomfort with sexuality because there it is. I mean, somebody's selling us cars and burgers with sexuality, but we're not allowed to experience it, even though it's an inherent part of who we are.
Mhm.
So I addressed looking at the mental capacity, like what is getting in your way. There's a lot that gets in the way, but sexuality is a mental process. Orgasms, it comes from being able to relax in your body and not letting all of that get in the way. So I address all of that in my book.
It's I have found it to be a very powerful manifestation tool. Talk to or technique or tool, and probably tool is probably a bad word in the sense that I'm saying it. I don't know. I had to go there, ladies and gentlemen, just because that's who I am. But did he
After
say tool
dark.
on air? It's the internet, people. We can say these things. But can you walk us through? Because I know, like when we talked before in the book, you can do this with a partner. You can do it by yourself. But what is the state of mind or intention that you should be in as you are working toward that orgasm to manifest a particular reality or intention?
I love that you brought that up. I think that it would be done prior to raising that energy so that you already have the intention that you want to set forth. And you're right, because it is this transcendent high vibrational energy that you reach, it absolutely allows for those intentions to be manifested in a very powerful way. And that's something that is an old practice as well. People describe that being able to do it with a partner is great, where two or more gather. You've got two people with the same intention, raising that energy. But of course, it can be done alone as well. It's
Hmm.
a matter of when you reach that ecstatic state, that transcendent, juicy place, you have your focus and intention and see it, step into it. It's always best to try to step into one's intention as much as possible in every way that you can using your senses. So, really being in it as you're reaching this climax point, wow, it's amazing source for us.
Is this like Tantra or is this different than Tantra or
No, it
Tantra?
is Tantra. Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's pretty much the same mechanisms but there is an individual aspect of it as well as a partner aspect to it.
Sure, because once you learn to move that energy, you can learn to move that energy through the body and have orgasms completely hands off.
Okay. Well, that might be our 2017 goal of the year, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start out the new year with that. In the book, though, you talk about things that one would think doesn't coincide with sexual energy. Like you talk about heart intelligence, forgiveness. Talk to us about how that relates to sexual energy and having an orgasmic life.
Again, it's like the mental part. It's that if we haven't done our forgiveness work, then we're not coming from a place of self-love in the way that we can connect with our partner without it getting in the way.
Mhm.
It is imperative to do forgiveness work. Doing forgiveness work is always going to be a gift to yourself first and foremost. It's not about the other person. It's about, do you want to continue to be in the world with this hindrance getting in the way? Because it always will. It clouds. Our perceptions are always clouded by something like being angry or frustrated with something from the past. How long do you want to carry that with you? And of course, when you're relating with another person, if you are still angry with your ex or with whatever situation, that's going to carry over in your relationships, both with your partner and other people. So by doing the forgiveness work, by relating, the heart has its own intelligence. Science has shown that. So by coming into alignment with, I love myself, I deserve a really good life, and allowing that to really become true for you, it's so powerful, and it really helps with this other work of moving sexual energy with your partner. You're able to find that depth with them
Mhm.
because you don't have all this other crap getting in the way.
Now, do you find that over time with practice that you are able to take this energy on the road with you, if you will? In other words, it doesn't have to be something that you just practice in private. You will have, of course, your own sessions for that, but you'll be able to take that throughout your day, whatever work that is, or you might even be in, various sports or performance. It's something that you can use in every aspect of your life. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't do the work and not experience it areas of your life because it does carry over. Creative energy is amazing, and sexual energy is that creative juiciness. So the more that you're kind of experiencing that energy, the more you come into balance with it, the more you're feeling creative, you're feeling like I'm telling you, it's like getting in the zone.
Yeah, it's interesting because when we think of, successful people, whether that's successful financially or successful in terms of self-actualized, like, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? We find that there is a sexual energy to, speakers, to athletes, to people in politics, CEOs, entrepreneurs, people who are very successful. Uh, and maybe they don't even know or are aware of it, but one, many have a high libido, and two, there is a sexual attraction that I think many people are afraid to admit to or acknowledge, but that's kind of how God designed it in a sense.
Yeah, that magnetism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people say that it's like this charisma that they can't otherwise explain. I think that you're more in touch with that energy, and the Eastern philosophy says that it is the most potent, powerful energy source, and that we get a certain amount of it in the lifetime. But the more you're moving it through your body, the more you're kind of cultivating that.
Go on, continue. I'm sorry. I thought you were. I was looking at my notes and I was waiting. You know, I was like, okay, great. So you're done. Okay, great. I gotta go to the next question then. Or did you finish your statement?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a matter of um, when you feel good, you come from a place that you're already filled up. And so people are naturally attracted to that.
Mhm.
You're not out there seeking, you're not out there trying to win love or, that energy where someone is like trying, like, please, don't you want to like me? That's not attractive to people. But if you're already fueled up and you're already fulfilled, then people are attracted to that because you're already in your own zone. You're
Mhm.
already in your own place of, yeah, and people are like, what's up with that person? So I think that's really attractive to others.
Um, Talk to us about the importance of breath. You talk about that a lot in the book.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest tools you can use. So you can do breath work. We all know that feeling of I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I should stop and take a few deep breaths before I do anything because I'm going to be angry and say something I don't want to say. So you stop and you take a deep breath and it helps calm you down. It helps bring you into a more grounded, centered place again. And that's one of the ways that you can use it as a tool. The other is to kind of you're hitting that time in the day where you're getting that lull, you'd like to drink some coffee, but you can do quick little breaths. And it actually like stimulates the brain and helps wake you up. So it's really fast. You can do it at your desk. Most of us don't get the oxygen that we need.
Hmm.
We tend to sit slumped over at our desks. We don't sit upright and really get the oxygen down into our belly where we should. And there's a yogic expression that says breath is life because the more oxygen you're getting, the more it's carrying that into every cell in your body. And if
Hmm.
you're oxygen starved, then you're going to feel depleted. You're not going to feel on game. You're going to feel a little draggy. Um, Breath work in the way that I've described in my book, beyond what I just said, can actually help bring you to orgasm. And it's immensely powerful for magnifying orgasms. So you can do breath work and some energy work, like doing Kegels and moving that energy and the breath, and it will allow for these hands off mental orgasms that move through you.
Now, I
You
think that's interesting to talk about because most people, when they're thinking about or when they hear about this for the first time, they're thinking of actual masturbation, and I think that there's a component to that, obviously. But you're talking about actually hands-off orgasms that become mental, psychic, spiritual. Um, Talk to us about the power of that versus the actual physical touch.
I think it's an important component in learning how to be multi-orgasmic with your partner. And through masturbation, you want to be able to move that sexual energy. There are channels that run up the back of the spine and down the front of the body. And you want to move that sexual energy up the spine, back down the front. And it feels really good. And it's like putting yourself on a charger. It helps to get that energy moving through you. And when you do it, you can do it with a partner as well. So I've done like hands off energy work with people that they start to learn how to have orgasms and they're, whoa, like you didn't even touch me. Like how did you move this energy? But you can start to learn how to do it yourself. You can start to learn to do it with your partner, and you can roll those orgasms through. They're full body orgasms because they move through your body and they're undeniably amazing.
I was going to say, you know, this is something you can try at home. Don't try this outside, I don't think.
Do it at home. Learn how to
Not safe
do
for work, especially for the guys. Women might be able to hide it a little bit. Well, you know, guys, come on, you know.
And I have
So
different practices.
go ahead. You have to practice.
You can learn how to like just do it with squeezing the PC muscle, the pubococcygeus muscle, which is what Kegels, most people are familiar with Kegel exercises, and moving that energy and using your breath to kind of bring it up and, you know, coax it up, invite it up. Don't force anything. And there are other exercises that I described, doing pelvic bouncing. You can kind of lie down and bounce your hips and kind of move that energy up. And you sip it up, you know, and it will move. It wants to move. This is something that we were built for. This is inherent to who we are. We're just not given the tool, and it's an amazing tool to have. Once you know how to do it, you'll have it for the rest of your life.
What do you think? Because I know a lot of people who are what we call hung up or stuck, and they're not in tune or in touch with their body, particularly with their sexuality, as it relates to self-orgasm, or even orgasm with a partner, or their spouse. So what do you think those hindrances are, or what should be or could be the first beginning steps to break from the blockades, those self-inflicted blockades?
There are a lot of things that can get in the way. We can deal with a lot of not so pleasant things in our lives that get in the way of our wanting to feel. And so we close off energetically, we close off sexually. We're taught, or we learn, that it's not safe to experience our sexuality. If you're raised with messages telling you sex is sin, sex is shameful, you should be ashamed of yourself for trying to touch yourself, then masturbating your way to orgasm is going to be much more difficult. And if you can't get yourself off, it's going to be really hard for your partner to get you off. Especially for women, that ability to relax and get out of your head is imperative to reaching orgasm. So it's a matter of getting past the messages. If someone told you that sex is shameful or sinful, it's inherent to who we are. Is that really working for you? I mean, this is like, we're part of all of nature, and all of nature is sexual. We're meant to be sexual. So I would ask, like, to really look at, is this really contributing positively to my life? Is this something that I want to change my thinking about, rewrite the wiring, and allow myself to experience pleasure in my body, because we're wired for pleasure.
I assume you can make the connection that if we are spiritually, if we're sexually shut down, then we're probably spiritually shut down, and then there's probably blockages and roadblocks that are in our lives that we feel stuck and we can't get out of.
And those blocks not only close us off from being able to experience true depth and meaning with other people in our lives, but it doesn't allow us to experience ourselves. So the more that you can kind of move that energy however you need to move that energy, that's another thing that will happen. You can start moving that energy and it will hit blocks, and you'll experience intense sadness and whatever has been kind of shut down and closed off. So those energies can come up when you move that energy, because it's powerful work. It's incredibly healing. And on the other side, you're going to feel so free and so liberated and so much lighter, because this is not how we're meant to be. We're meant to be able to enjoy this body that we're given and to experience. We're wired to experience pleasure through our eating, through our senses, all of our senses. And we're so, so busy that we're not enjoying. We're like just shutting ourselves off more and more. And I think that like our electronic world is contributing to that at this point. We're not feeling the shower. We're not like really enjoying the bath. We're not like, we're supposed to be tactile. We're supposed to be stopping and smelling the roses. You know what I mean? And all
Absolutely.
of that is closed off when the more you shut yourself down to not feel. That's another reason that people don't get enough oxygen, is it's easier to just kind of, the more you're starting to get oxygen in you, the more you're going to feel. But the more your orgasms are going to boom. And so using your breath, using sound when you're orgasming, try it when you're masturbating and make noise. It will amplify your pleasure immensely.
Fascinating. Where do people start with this, and how long does it take? I mean, obviously there's different levels of transcendence, but where do people start with this? They get your book, and what's kind of like the first component that they begin with or experimenting and practicing?
So you buy the Ultimate Guide to a Multi-Orgasmic Life, and you can listen to the audio too and have me read the book to you and walk you through the exercises. I recommend that people do what feels best to them, because I've written the book so that it's in sections and it's really easy. It's just like a couple pages and then an exercise, a couple pages and an exercise. Start implementing those exercises. You can read it as you need to. You don't need to read it cover to cover. If you don't have time for that, just start using some of the tools. Start using some of the breath work and see how that contributes to your life. Because these tools really, really are transformative and really do work. And so if you're like, oh God, another book to read, like just open it up and say, all right, she said the breath work is going to help me with, let's try this. And there's a bunch of different exercises. Start trying it. It takes 5-10 minutes in your day, and see how it shifts your energy and shifts you to feeling better, because we're able to shift our energy into this much higher vibrational, awesome feeling really fast. Just changing to a smile shifts our whole mood. Even if you're forcing it.
I like that. I like that. Now, do you do online coaching or you know, kind of some types of consulting? If people would like to have like a, you know, an orgasmic mentor or guru, are you, you know, do you do that, and how does that work?
I'm willing to take on clients, but I'm very selective right now about those that I'm working with. I'm working on creating a video series of my books so that people can watch the videos and get a feel for those exercises by watching videos. But for now, you can listen to the audio. A lot of people like audiobooks.
It is available. You can get, there's a link, ladies and gentlemen, at the bottom of this description of this YouTube. And of course on Amazon. The book is The Ultimate Guide to a Multi-Orgasmic Life. Anything that we missed, anything that you wanted to bring out that we didn't talk about before, or that is new that you have discovered and like to share?
I think that a lot of people feel like they're not worthy of experiencing the immense pleasure that they have in every area of their life. So just remember that you really deserve this. You were born worthy of doing this. And it's much simpler than you would think. Like, it's really easy to just implement these tools. You can start doing some breath work or some Kegels while you're standing in line at the bank or whatever. And you'll see, like, it really works.
Is it different for men than it is for women? I know that is the dumbest question you've probably ever received, and it's probably, as I was asking it, I said, that's a stupid question. Of course it is, Philippe. But in the sense, how does it differentiate between men and women?
Yeah, it's a great question. And there is a difference, of course, because our anatomy is different. And so in the book, it's totally sectioned out for women and for men so that you can integrate the one that works for your gender.
Okay, so this is a book that men and women can
Yes,
read, you know, not just women.
And then there's also a section in the back of how to really reconnect with your partner and some tools to take into the bedroom with your partner.
Okay, great. Now, last question, and that is, we know this is a tantra or tantra related. How does this differentiate between other books and topics written on the subject?
I just had somebody call it the most comprehensive guide to enlightened sex out there.
Wow. You know, those are two words you would never usually think to put together, enlightened sex.
And yet they go hand in hand, and they have for the beginning of time. You know, in the Upper Paleolithic, we were worshiping the feminine and the immense capacity of connecting male and female energy. My book incorporates any kind of gender differences, so you don't have to be a heterosexual couple to read the book. All of us have masculine and feminine energy within us. So it's about coming into alignment with those energies because they are different energies.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Well,
I think the body is a
amazing.
gateway. The body's a gateway to transcendence. So this is natural inclination. It it has for thousands and thousands of years. People have been telling us this.
Fantastic. Now you have the audio version. You have an audio book now component to this as well. Is that right?
I have an audio book, so you can download the Kindle, you can buy the paperback, or you can get the audio version and have me read the book to you from wherever.
Wow, that is way cool.
It is. It's great. You can put it on
Yeah,
your
I think so, you know, because I think too, you know, sometimes people just don't get it reading. You know, everybody's not didactic in that way. You know, they're not wired that way. So sometimes hearing something or hearing the voice of the author, that, you know, can have a much higher trigger than just reading the pages and trying to figure it out. So that's a great component that you add. And you're going to be adding a video component to it as well.
Video component as well.
Well, I want you to come back, of course, as we keep going and having better orgasms and having better sexual enlightenment. Nobody can better talk about than Antonia Hall. Antonia Hall, thank you so much, my dear, for being with me again.
Total pleasure.
Take care. Stick around.